Hello everyone. Today is January 10th, Friday, January 10th, and it's like almost the middle of the winter here. And I don't know about any other gardeners out there, but I've already got the itch to start growing plants. In fact, I actually started growing plants a couple weeks ago. So in the past, I've been able to germinate our own seeds indoors and then transplant them out into the garden. I've been able to successfully grow all our plants from seed that we do plant in our garden. But I want to take that a step further. Instead of just kind of germinating plants and then growing them to a big enough stage to take them outside, I want to be able to actually grow lettuce and maybe some cool weather crops. I want to grow them indoors and be able to grow them year round and harvest them to eat. So it'd be really nice if I actually had some lettuce right now that we could just cut our own fresh lettuce, and that's really what I want to be able to get to. So right now our indoor grow area it's actually in our mechanical room, and that is a dark room, but due to like the freezers and the hot water heaters and the equipment that's in the mechanical room, that room actually tends to stay a little bit warmer, so it made it kind of a ideal location temperature wise for germination. But it doesn't have any sunlight in that location. So the first thing I want to do is I want to move it out of the mechanical room. I want to put it over here in front of this window and get it to where I can get some sunlight. So this is the south facing side of our house, and here in the northern hemisphere in the wintertime, that is where the sun is going to be. It's going to be in the sun, and it'll be in the south, and it'll be shining this direction. So this was kind of the ideal location in our house to be able to put plants, is going to be here on the south side. Now I just want to redo our whole grow area, and what I've done is I've bought all new grow lights. So I've got 6 new grow lights to hang in on our grow area that we're going to redo today. I've got some new trays and pots, and I've got seedling heating mats. I've just got a bunch of stuff. I'm going to redo the whole area. I think it's going to actually turn out really good. It should end up being almost a perfect place to germinate plants, plus it should be good enough to grow plants year round in. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking the old grow area, kind of disassembling it and bringing it out here, and let's start putting this together. Put this somewhere else. So this wire rack shelf here, this is going to be the base of our indoor grow area, and it is 4 feet wide, 18 inches deep, and 6 foot tall. But the most important to mention is probably going to be getting a shelf that's 4 feet wide, because you're going to be able to find 4 foot long grow lights. They're going to be readily available, and those grow lights will be able to hang inside the dimension of the shelf. Everything's just going to look a lot nicer. It's going to go together a lot better. But before we hang those grow lights, what I want to do is I want to adjust our shelving here. I want to get them to the dimension where they're all spaced appropriately. And then I want to go ahead and adjust the level. I want to make sure this is as level as possible. So the feet that are on these shelves, usually they unscrew, and you can kind of adjust, the levelness of the shelf. So we want to get it as level as possible. After that, we'll go ahead and start hanging the lights. So I've got the shelving unit all level, and then I've got my shelves spaced out the way I want them to be. I ended up going with 20 inches from the top of shelf to the top of this shelf, and 20 inches to the top of this shelf. Down here I've got more close to about 10 inches to that shelf. So that bottom shelf is going to just be for germinating seeds and seedlings. So they're going to be really small plants. They're not going to need a lot of height. But on these upper 2 shelves, if I end up growing lettuce, and like full-size lettuce plants, I'm going to have to need some height. You're going to have a pot for the plant, and then you're going to have all the leaves on the lettuce, so you're going to need a little bit of height, and that's why I spaced them that far apart. So I think I'm ready to go ahead and hang the grow lights here on the shelf. And what I did is I ended up buying some LED grow lights off of Amazon. So these are the grow lights that I bought. Recently I just put some lights in my pole barn. I bought some LED lights off of Amazon, and I actually had such good luck with those and liked the way they put together that I actually ended up buying the same brand. The same brand ended up making grow lights. Now, these are a little more expensive. It was $100 for like 6 of these, but that's actually a pretty good deal. And these are actually built better than the ones in the pole barn. So these are built a little bit better. They're a little heavier duty. And then they have 2 rows of LED lights. So there's actually 2 strips of LEDs that are in here. So that these are actually twice as many watts as the ones out in the pole barn. So they're basically twice as bright. So these are just, I think these are going to work out pretty good. They have this, they have a little reflector also. That's probably another reason why they're more expensive. So they have a reflector that's removable. But the good thing about this reflector is, I mean, it kind of helps focus the light down on the plants, but it also keeps you from seeing that LED light and getting that shining directly in your eyes. Because if you take these off, it's kind of almost blinding. So I think the little reflectors on there is actually pretty good. So like the ones in the pole barn, they got a little clip where it clips the back of this. And except these clips have like a little ring on the back where you can hang them from a chain. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to hang these from a chain inside of this shelf. And then we'll be able to lower these down right above the plants. And then as the plants grow, we'll be able to raise these up as the plant grows. And that's what we're going to do. I ended up buying some really small chain from the hardware store. I think I bought like 20 feet, which was almost twice as much as I needed. And then I bought some little S hooks. That cost me about 12 bucks. Pretty cheap stuff from the hardware store. And we're going to take that with these lights, start getting them hung, and then I'll show you how easy. I think this is going to turn out real cool, but I think it's going to be real easy to just be able to adjust these lights up and down. And then just like the lights in the pole barn, they have a plug-in on each end, and you can daisy chain these lights. So basically we'll be able to just use one outlet and be able to basically power up all 6 of these lights. So I do plan on putting 3 lights at each level, like this level and the next level. Now this bottom level, I actually have 2 fluorescent grow light fixtures left over from before. And I'm going to hang those 2 fluorescent fixtures above the 3rd shelf, and that's what I'll use for the germination portion. But I'll go ahead and get the chain out. We'll start putting these together. So the first thing I have is these little 1-inch S hooks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these hooks and I'm going to basically bend one end of the hook over the wire shelf back here. And that's what the chain is going to hang from. So I'm going to put a bunch of these hooks just onto the wire rack to hang the lights from. So this is the chain that I ended up getting. It's this really small chain that you normally would probably hang lights from. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut these at somewhere around 12 inches. So I've got 6 pieces that are all the same length. I can go ahead and hang my first lights. So these little rings on top are kind of like your keychain, just a smaller version. So basically I'm just going to get the chain started on there and then spin it around, get it on like you would a key. So we got all our grow lights down on the shelf, and the next key thing is I think these garden trays. So I just picked these garden trays up. This is a nice hard tray. It's got about a 2-inch lip on it, and this makes it, it's really firm, it's really sturdy. So this makes it handy where you can pull your plants out and you can water them from the top, or you could actually even water them from the bottom. You could actually pour water into this tray and let the soil in the pots soak up the water. So I think these garden trays are pretty cool, and these regular size actually fit 2 on a shelf. So it's actually, I think, works out pretty perfect. And then I ended up getting these 4.5-inch pots. So you can see with the 4.5-inch pots, I can actually get 15 pots on a tray. And I think that actually works out fairly well. And I think that's going to work out good if I'm trying to grow bigger plants. Of course, I don't have to put 15 on a tray. I could actually do less. The more the plant grows, I could do less. But I think it makes it real handy, because when you got your lights in here, it's really hard to water your plants. So I think it's handy to be able to have this tray to be able to pull your plants out and water them. I think that's going to work out really well. And it also fits most of your seed starting trays and stuff like that. So let me get one, show you. So this is one of my reusable seed starting trays, and it fits perfectly in this garden tray. And then I'll be able to just take that, slide that down here on the 3rd shelf, and there's plenty of room to be able to germinate plants down there. So this here is like one of the seed starting trays that you'd buy at your local Home Depot or something like that. So underneath this tray, you can see I got a cord sticking out. So underneath this tray, I've got one of these heated mats, and that's what would heat up the soil and help the seeds to germinate. So you could be able to lay one of these down in here, put your seed starting plug tray on top of that, and then you could put that in the shelf there as well, and start your plants that way. So I think this is going to work out real good together. So I think that 3rd shelf down there is going to work out real well just for starting seedlings. And you can see I've got plenty of room here. Right now I've got probably 6 to 8 inches between the light and these pots, and I can still raise that light up quite a bit. So I've already got some plants started, so I'm going to go ahead and bring those in. So these grow lights actually have that kind of pinkish, purplish color to them, and that is kind of weird looking. You can buy grow lights that have a white colored light to them, but these lights were cheaper, they were the better deal, and they're supposed to be the full spectrum light for growing, so hopefully these will work out well. We'll just have to wait and see. So I've got the grow area set up, and I've got these lights on each level. They're all kind of hooked up separately. So I can turn on one level at a time. So right now we only have plants on the top level, so that's all I need. And then all the lights then all hook into a timer. And that timer is set to turn the lights on for 16 hours and then 8 hours of darkness. And that kind of simulates day and night. And if it looks like the plants aren't getting enough light, we can tweak that timer and give them a couple more hours worth of light. And then with the chains on here, we're able to lower these lights down. We should be able to set these where they're just like a couple inches above the plants. And that'll really increase the intensity of the light that they get. And that should help them grow as well. Plus we're going to get a little bit of sunshine through the window. So today is like a super rainy day. I think we're getting 2 inches of rain today, and I think we're getting 3 inches of rain tomorrow. So there's not a lot of sunshine out there today. It wasn't very bright, and but on the nice sunny days, this does get bright down here through this window, and that should help the plants grow. Well, I think I'm really happy with the way this all turned out. My favorite part of this whole thing has got to be these trays. I ordered a couple of them at first and I really liked them, so I ended up ordering 4 more. And that may sound weird that I like these trays, but I like the idea of being able to pull the plants out and be able to get to them to work on them, because when you actually adjust those lights and you adjust them down right on top, you can't really reach in there to water your plants. You can't really get the ones out of the back and pull them out to mess with them. So I like the idea of being able to just kind of pull these all out. Makes it a lot easier. And then the other thing about it is, if I don't want to pull them out, you can always just, since this is all nice and level now, if I pour water in here, it should sit in the tray nice and level as well, and then they'll all kind of evenly soak up water from the bottom as well. So I like the idea that I could bottom water with this as well. I just think it's going to be a nice little system. This 24-inch tray just ends up being perfect to work. I will go ahead in the bottom in the description, I'll put a link to the lights, I'll put a link to the trays and these little 4.5-inch pots. So these are like, I forgot what they call these. These are kind of extruded or something, but they're reusable pots. They're stiffer and whatever than a normal pot. I mean, they are still thin, but they're a reusable pot. So hopefully I'll get several uses out of those, and it'll just be a really nice system to use. But so now hopefully it works as well as I hope it does, you know. So I'm really hoping that I'll be able to grow some full-size lettuce and be able to harvest year-round. So we'll just have to wait and see. These lights aren't proven yet. I haven't really used these lights, so I don't know how well they're going to work. But there's still space between them. There's still a couple inches between them, so if there's not enough light, I can add more. And to be honest with you, if you add some white light in between them, that pink color will kind of go away. So as I played around with it, and I put a fluorescent in between a couple of these pink ones, and you couldn't tell that it was pink anymore. That white light really helps cover it up. So if it ends up looking like I can't, like it doesn't have enough light and I need to add more, I'll probably actually add white LEDs, 1 or 2 white LEDs to each level, and then it won't even have that pink hue anymore, and it'll add extra light. But we'll just have to wait and see how it works out. So hopefully we'll come back in a few weeks and I'll have nice bigger plants of lettuce. We'll just have to wait and see. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. So I know that these purple LED grow lights aren't for everybody. They just look so weird. But if you shine if you get a white light in here, see, here's a little bit of a flashlight shining on there. It's amazing. A little bit of white light will bring the colors back out and you can see them, and everything starts to look normal. So now I've got the LED lights. I've got them lowered down next to the plants like they should be. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put down in the description down below, I'll put a link to these garden trays and to these 4.5-inch pots that I'm using. Also, I'll put a link to the LED lights. So this isn't sponsored or anything. I paid for all this stuff out of my own pocket. And hopefully in a few weeks we'll see how well it's going to work out.